Hey there, Frank Sardella here with Will Work for Patients, episode 30. Today what we're going to take up is stuff your CA should know. I've been getting a lot of feedback lately. I've been watching you guys very closely. I've been listening very carefully to what you say to me. And I have found that I think it's high time that not only you had a talk with your CA, but I think I have a talk with your CA. So the title of episode 30 is Make Your CA Listen to This Episode. Episode 30 coming at you right now. Here we go.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Will Work for Patients, a free advice podcast dedicated to help chiropractors get on purpose and grow their practices. Get ready to tune in and turn up the volume of your practice marketing. And now, turning up the volume on his mic, big-time chiropractic advocate and your host, here is Frank Sardella.
That's me, baby. If you've ever watched Futurama, anybody know Bender? I'm Bender, baby. So here we are, folks. Another exciting episode of Will Work for Patients, and I am ready to rock and roll up my sleeves, and I am particularly excited about today's episode. And you should be too, actually, because we're going to have a little talk with your CA this episode. So hello there, CA. Welcome. I welcome all chiropractic assistants for listening to this episode, and I commend you docs for taking the time and the initiative to do this. I have to tell you, I'm sitting here thinking right now, why the heck didn't I think of this sooner? But I'm already thinking in my head we're going to do a lot more of this because I think this is going to be a great day, and CAs, you're in for some exciting stuff today. Now, what are we going to cover today? What are we going to talk about? Well, I would like to cover with you today the purpose of the practice that you're working in and the purpose of the doctor who's running that practice. And I want to tell you a little bit about that doctor. Now, you may be working for a doctor that I don't even know and I've never spoken to, but there are certain basics about all chiropractors that you really need to know. You might be a front desk CA, receptionist, maybe in the technical works of the practice. You might work in billing. You might be an office manager. You might be a marketing CA. Really, no matter. This episode today applies to you, and I'm going to help you be a super CA. And docs, you doctors are always talking about making lifetime patients. Well, we're going to make lifetime CAs as well today. How does that sound to you? So, what are we going to cover? We are going to cover all the basics of a chiropractic practice and how it works, the purpose of the doctor, and your purpose as an assistant. I also want to talk about having knowledge of chiropractic itself, understanding how the body works, and also I want to talk a little bit about having experienced chiropractic. One of the more salient points that I want to take up today is how this job that you have right now is different than any other job in any other profession. I want to show you how it's more of a career job than just a job. And I want to show you that this job can be so much more fulfilling, that it's not what we commonly refer to as the daily grind. So we're going to talk about that today. And then I want to talk about tips for being a really super CA and how you can feel really good and be more involved in the practice and make yourself even more valuable to that practice. In today's economy, I think you would all agree with me that job security would be of utmost importance. Everybody seems to be worried about losing their job and so on and so forth. I want to tell you some tips on how you can make yourself invaluable to this practice. No matter whether it's you and the doctor or there's 75 staff, I find these principles apply. So let's get right into it. Who do you work for? I'll tell you who you don't work for. You don't work for a doctor who looked at college and said, what major do I want to have? It was more along the lines of what we call purpose, a deep-seated belief in something. Now, you as the CA, what I'd like you to do is think about a deep-seated belief that you have about something that either you pursue or you wish you were pursuing, some purpose that you have. That's the level of purpose that we're talking about. And if you don't have one now, maybe you had one when you were younger. Maybe you went for something that you really believed in that you wanted to do. These doctors all have one common purpose, and I haven't found one who deviates from this pattern, and that is to help people. So we're talking about the start of an adventure where a person with a deep-seated belief and a desire to pass along the message about this miraculous care to others, to help them get well and achieve a state of wellness. That is the highest state, by the way, that we've found people in, is not living a wellness lifestyle. It's living a wellness lifestyle and desiring for others to do so and actively trying to get them to. And that is who you work for in that practice. So much so that they went through untold expense, time, stress to get through chiropractic school. And that is no short journey. And I suggest have a chat over lunch or over coffee sometime with the doc and find out. Ask, why did you go into chiropractic? Why do you do what you do? Find out. I guarantee you it'll be a fascinating story and inspiring as well. So here's this inspired person you work with. Now, already that gives you an edge. Are you starting to see how that gives you an edge over other jobs? How many people can say that about their bosses? Go on Facebook, folks, and see what your friends are saying about bosses they worked for. Now, this isn't to say that no one else is on purpose in their profession, but the common thing you hear these days, right, is people hate their jobs. They hate their bosses. My boss is unreasonable. How many people can say that they work for a boss who was so inspired to help people that they went through years and years of study and risk going into practice just to do what they're doing now? And that's who you work for. So there's your first introduction to where you're working. And that should be something that you remind yourself of every single day. That is what you show up every day for. And if you show up to work every day with that inspiration, you're going to find that you have the funnest job out of any of your friends. So that's lesson number 1. Now, I want you to know something about your position, being a chiropractic assistant. First of all, what are you assisting? What is chiropractic? This is twofold. There's an educational side to it. And most likely, you've already been indoctrinated to at least the concept of chiropractic of what it is and does, which is basically a way of freeing up communication in the body. That's it. The nervous system is a communication system, and in traumas that come to the body, can eventually accidentally interfere with that nervous system and create disease in the body. That's essentially it. However, there is another side to that education that gets often overlooked by docs and CAs alike. The other side to the educational aspect is experiential. It's that you need to experience it as well. Part of experiencing it can be watching others go through it. Chances are there's a book of testimonials in your office from people who have written down the miracles that they've received or the miraculous recoveries and different things that have happened. Most docs have that in their office. You can ask to see that. But do watch, like even if you're in what you consider a menial filing job, or you're just doing paperwork or answering phones or whatever, do talk to people. Do watch what happens. Do listen to people when they come in the office and really find out. You have to have that experiential component. You should get the educational component, and docs, if you haven't really driven that home and show them how the brain relates to the body and nerve interference and what that's all about and what an adjustment really does, you really need to do that. But second of all, you CAs and you docs need to work together on the experiential part. CAs need to experience the benefits of chiropractic in others and even, yes, in themselves. And I guarantee you, you will see you'll have a more well-rounded understanding and you'll have a much bigger desire to work there. And I can tell you something else. If you're someone who hits that snooze button and you say, I don't want to get up, this is the difference between that and jumping out of bed and getting ready because you can't wait to get to work. Think right now, what is it that would get you out of the bed in the morning? What is it? Think about it for a second. Really think about this. What would get you out of bed in the morning, jumping up without hitting snooze and going, yeah, I can't wait to do this. This is what we're talking about. With each thing you learn and you know, and on top of that, then experience, you will find that you are snoozing less and less, and you're looking more and more forward to getting there. Yes, we all have our days, we all have our weeks, we all have our months when things are trying or whatever. That happens in business, it happens whatever. But if you keep a core team together between you and the doctor, you will keep that spark alive, and you will want to go to work every day. So that's my second piece of advice. Okay, docs, You should make sure that you're imparting this on your CAs, but CAs, don't wait for the doctor. You need to take some responsibility for your own position there and demand that you are educated and that you gain experience. And you should, by my recommendation, experience chiropractic care. To work in this profession, you really have to know it and you really have to believe in it. Did you ever try to sell something you don't believe in? And if you haven't, have you ever met somebody selling something that you just get the idea, well, I don't think this guy really believes it, right? Let me ask you this. Can you hear in my voice whether I believe in this or not? Why am I doing this? I got into this profession to help as many chiropractors help as many people as possible. People ask me, why didn't you go to school to become a chiropractor? The reason I didn't go to school to become a chiropractor is because I couldn't make a big enough impact. I'm the guy that wants to get thousands of chiropractors making thousands of patients so we make millions of people. That's how you make an impact. The point is that you have to believe in it. You have to have that kind of passion that drives you to work every day. And you should write this one down. Find something to cling on to. One thing, maybe two, maybe several, but at least one thing that you can cling on to that say, yes, this is why I come to work in the morning. Even if it's Mrs. Smith, who's the lifetime patient, who smiles and just makes your day every day. And you see that she is living longer because of your office. Even if you're just inspired by watching the doctor adjust, then make it that. Find something about that practice that you can cling on to. Now that's about who you are as a CA. Now, what is your position? You are really a chiropractic assistant. You, even in putting files in a drawer, in getting insurance claims out, even in answering the phone, that word chiropractic assistant applies. All those things need to be done to make that clinic treat as many people as possible. And if we can't administrate that clinic, we can only help very few people. Now, I really want you to understand that you as a CA are really assisting chiropractic itself. You are assisting in making those people well by doing every job in that practice. And when those jobs don't get done, we assist less people. So as a lesson you should learn about who you are to that practice as a chiropractic assistant, you need to know you are important. You are important even at times when things are getting rough there, okay? And sometimes they get a little hairy, especially in the beginning, and you haven't quite figured out what you're doing, and it gets busy one day, and you're going a little crazy because you don't quite know it that well, and things seem like a disaster, and you seem confused. Even at that point, you're important, and you need to remember that. Even if the doctor is yelling at you, and I'm not advocating this practice, but even if you're getting reamed out, okay? You're still important, and I can tell you with great certainty, your doctor, even in times like that, regards you as important. They need your help, and you're there to assist them, okay? So this is the adventure that you've embarked upon, and I'll bet you didn't even know all that about this seemingly menial little job called CA, chiropractic assistant. You are important. Now, how do you become the super CA? How do you make yourself invaluable to the practice? Job security. How do you make yourself so valuable that the practice cannot live without you? I'm talking about how to actually, for true, for real, in actuality, make yourself invaluable to that practice. Think about it. If a practice that you're working for is dying, how much job security do you have? In other words, if it's going downscale, it's making less money every month, it's getting less patients, it's losing patients, how long do you think you're going to have that job? Let's think of another point along that line. What if you were doing a bad job and causing that? Or something you were doing was causing contraction of the practice? Okay, just think of that. As absurd as it sounds for a minute, just think of that. How secure would your job be? However, what if the practice was expanding? It was getting more new patients all the time. It was helping lots of people. New miracles were happening every day. People were going, all my life I've had this painful condition and blah, 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 and I've had it since I was 13 and now I'm 56. And this is happening every day. And people in the community are finding out about it, and more people are coming in, and they're telling their friends, and more people are coming in. Right? More money's coming into the practice. All of a sudden, more employees come on. How does your job security seem to you now? This is something also unique to a chiropractic practice, is that you very much have a lot of control over your job security. And in some jobs, you may not feel like that. Now, I'm from the school of the fact that no matter what your job is, in what industry, you can create your own job security. But I just want you to know that especially here in this industry, do you have the opportunity to create all the job security you ever want to have, and longevity and value of yourself to the practice, and increase your own prosperity along with the practice by moving up with the expansion and growing with it, growing into a new position, taking on new duties, more responsibility, helping more people, and making more money for yourself, being compensated. Absolutely. This is the opportunity for that. Step one of doing that and helping create a growing practice would be to understand as fully as you can, and always getting more and more educated on not only your position, but the other positions and what they do. And also how chiropractic works, how you're getting results, what kind of results you're getting, and the dissemination of those results. You know what disseminate means? It means to spread, like you spread seeds with the intent to create growth, right? You disseminate, you spread out news. That is also included in telling all your friends and family, everybody you meet. What would happen if you happen to be in the deli and you notice someone with a limp? I'll tell you what I do when I see someone in the deli with a limp. I start a conversation. And I ask them about the limp. See, why do you limp? What is that? Do you have a condition or something? Start a conversation, get them talking about it. Next thing you know, I'm giving them a card and telling them to come into the office. There's just one example. I mean, maybe that's not you. Maybe you're a little timid or shy, but you know what? You have a chance to find out how you can be a little less shy and do that. But that might not be the opportunity. There are millions of opportunities, okay? It doesn't have to be that you walk up to somebody in public. Think of this. Has anyone ever come up to you and told you, "Oh, I have a headache today"? Right? One of your friends puts on Facebook, "I'm suffering from a migraine again today, blah, blah, blah," and they put a whole paragraph there, right? Do you have friends who are chronically ill like that? They are everywhere around you, and the more that you work in this practice, the more you're going to realize how many people it actually is around you. It's going to seem like there's an increased amount, but all that's increased is your awareness of it, because now you work for this practice. But the most important thing you'll realize is there are millions of opportunities out there for you to go ahead and get other people under care. And that is another responsibility of yours, unspoken in this practice, but really a responsibility even to yourself. Because right now I'm talking about you as number one, how you can make yourself invaluable to the practice by contributing to the growth of the practice, bringing patients in. Some offices even have like little games, and they have acknowledgments and bonuses for somebody having contributed to the growth of the practice. Income went up this month, and Mary Jane's been sending people in like crazy, and Mary Jane gets an award. It varies from practice to practice, but you know what? The best practices that I've worked for were the ones that didn't even have that necessarily. And as part of my creation of my own position and contribution to the growth of practice, I went to the doctor and said, "Hey, here's what I propose that I do. If I do X, Y, and Z, and I actually pull it off, I want to have a day off and have a paid trip to go to the beach." Just as an arbitrary example, okay? But this is an example of how you just really take your position and elevate your responsibility of it to be, I want to help contribute to the growth of this practice in every way possible, even from my little, quote, menial job. And I'm not saying you have a menial job, but even if you think you do, have many ways that you can contribute to that practice, bringing in patients especially, and telling people about it and creating referrals or asking patients for referrals. You might be in a position where a patient doesn't ever tell the doctor anything, and yet on the way out, the person checks in with you and says, "I've been feeling great. I haven't felt this great in 40 years. Imagine what you could do with that. You could take them, say, here's a sheet of paper. Would you mind writing it down? I'd like to give that to the doctor. Hey, would you mind if we printed it in our newsletter? Or, wow, that's fantastic. Do you know anybody else who suffers, who lives around here, who might have a health problem that we could help them with? Who do you know? And get a list of people. Do you see? There's so many things you can do to contribute. You are important. And that's what I want you to take away from that. So, to become a Super CA and to create job security, you need to do things to help move the practice in the direction of expansion. Now, what else does that mean? That means no matter what your job is, doing it in the best way possible. That would mean always being in a good mood and good demeanor no matter what's going on in your life, wouldn't it? Which way do you think the practice would grow if you were in a bad mood all the time versus if you were in a good mood? The more perfectly you're doing your job, the better and bigger the practice gets. And I know you don't think inherently that you have anything to do with that, but you do, and you really need to realize that. Because remember, we're in a different environment. We're in a healing environment now. And that is the next thing about creating job security for yourself to realize. What is your view of the office that you work in now? It may be that you know the way you get treated when you go to a doctor's office is A, you get ignored, B, the people who work there act like they don't care, C, you're never taken on time for an appointment, and so on and so on and so on. That may very well be in some offices, but it's surely not in the office that you're in. This is a different environment. It's a healing environment. We actually get results. And part of doing your job really super well is to realize that when you're there, you're not just there because the doctor's paying you to be there, but you're actually there as to assist him in making these patients' lives easier. Why? Because when those patients do come, they're in pain or agony or discomfort, and they're not having a good time. And the best thing that they need, and the way you can assist them, is to have a pleasant demeanor and a helpful attitude and a desire to help. And people notice that, don't they? Don't you notice that? Think about a time where you needed to be helped by somebody and they weren't helpful. How did you feel as an individual? That's what you need to think about every day. Now, think about a time when you asked to be helped by someone and they not only helped you, but they went far beyond the call of duty to help you, and they went out of their way. How did you feel then? You know? The first scenario, the negative one, you felt ripped off. On this one, you felt like you're ripping them off, right? Did you ever have that feeling where you paid for something and you're like, wow, I got all that for that, and you almost feel a little obligated. You feel like you want to give them a little more money, you know? These are job security points, and they go far. And I'm not talking about sucking up and getting brownie points with the doctor. I'm talking about those points make a practice expand. And when that practice expands and is prosperous, you, my friend, have job security. That's what job security is all about. And it starts with the desire to help people. And guess what we're back to? We're back to why your doctor went to chiropractic school and into this profession in the first place. And let me tell you this. If the person you work for was primarily interested in making money, they would have gotten a degree in business administration and they would have gone to work for a pharmaceutical company. So, are you starting to see that you can have some control over your job security? That you can actually create a job for yourself and you can create a future for yourself there as well? Not just job security day to day, but how you're going to grow. How can you do more in the practice and have more responsibility and get paid more? Right? How can we all prosper together and be happy? That is what this practice is all about. Now, how should you approach your position as a CA? You find out what every single person does in that practice and what its importance is to the practice and how it relates to all the other positions. That is the best thing that you can do, because you will know then the importance of your job, because you will be finding out who's depending on you to get that job done and why, and how all these things integrate, and that will make you a super CA. I promise you that if you write these things down and you follow them as rules of thumb, you're going to have a much better time at that job. And you are going to have something that very few people boast that they have in their jobs nowadays. And that is confidence. And I have to tell you, I've been working with chiropractors for over 20 years. And what I can tell you from experience is that a CA with confidence is not only hard to find, but is very, very valued by chiropractors and sought after. You will be the most sought after, desirable CA in the history of that office. And you'll work there for years to come. You'll expand. You'll move up in the company. And you'll even retire from there, perhaps. So, let's recap a little bit, okay? The profession itself is staffed by doctors who went to college for a very long time with a fire in their belly, with a purpose, with something that really drove them there, some life-changing thing or something in their life that made them want to do this. They believe in chiropractic so much they dedicated their lives to doing it. They even put themselves in debt starting out to do it. So realize that that's who you're working for. Secondly, you really need to get your education on. Demand that you learn, that you learn, that you learn. You learn how the body works, how chiropractic works, how the nervous system works, why it gets blocked, how it gets blocked, how does the chiropractor specifically do it. And then, on top of that, experience it. Find out people who have gotten rid of health problems as a result of it. Interview them, talk to them. Read their testimonials, but then experience it for yourself as well so you can know. Don't let the doctor just show you what an adjustment is. Let them show you on you. Get adjusted and figure that out. The more experience you feed and the more education you feed yourself, the better and more confident person you're going to be in this job. And you will love this job the more that you do that. And as far as being the best CA you can be, the way to be a super CA is to create your own job security. It's not something that miraculously happens. It is something that you yourself create. And you do that through helping the practice expand, not contract. Okay? That comes right down to if the practice is contracting, you should be worrying right along with the doctor. Right? Because that's your job security as much as it is his. And you should work as a team to figure it out. Take initiative. Give ideas to the doctor. Make suggestions that you can help with. Do whatever you can to help expand that practice, and that starts with talking about the practice and about chiropractic to others. Maybe marketing is not part of your job description in that practice. That's fine. But all of us know people who have health problems. And I want to make one point, that if you know somebody who is suffering, this could be a person that you knew previously that had a health problem. You didn't know how to help them. Fine. But then you find out something that could help them. Then what kind of a thing would it be to not tell them about it? Think about that, right? It's a little bit more of a Call of Duty there, huh? So realize that there are people everywhere who are suffering, okay? And you can help them by just referring them to the clinic that you're at. And that clinic will expand because they'll tell their friends when they get results. And it just grows. So contribute to the growth in any way possible. And then do everything possible that you can to not only do your job well and be of good demeanor and of comfort to the patients, making them feel welcome, but also find out about every duty in the place and how they all intersect and where your job intersects other jobs and who's relying on you and who you're relying on. And you will have a very good grasp of that practice, and you'll gain so much ability. So CAs, what I tell you in conclusion is this. You are embarking on one of the biggest adventure careers, and you don't even know it. So I'm going to end this with a challenge to you. And the challenge is this. For you to go out and make this the biggest adventure you ever had. And make yourself invaluable as a chiropractic assistant to where the practice not only cannot do without you, but can't help but grow with you. And that's what I wish for you in this job. I wish you all the best of luck in this job. Docs, I hope this has helped And from the feedback that I've gotten from you, I know that it has. And I'm hoping that you're going to play this podcast episode over and over in all the years to come with all your future CAs as you expand. And I hope that you CAs who are listening to this now will listen to this repeatedly, okay? One of the things you should know is repetition is another thing. Practice makes perfect, you heard, right? You can't hear things enough sometimes. Listen to this podcast. Get inspired. All right. Who gets the last word? I do. After all, it's my show. What should we take away from today's podcast? Whether you're the chiropractor or you're assisting the chiropractor, it doesn't matter. Why? Because chiropractic is a team effort. Patients who get well in your practice, CAs, got well just as much because of you as because of the adjustments and the treatment that they received there. You are part of a team, and every person who gets well in your clinic is partially your responsibility. And that's what you should know every day when you come to work. So, my friends, we've come to the end of another stupendous episode. On behalf of myself, my staff, my crew, I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another incredulous episode of Will Work for Patients. So long.
Be sure to subscribe and share. Will Work for Patients has been brought to you courtesy of Screening Experts, bringing unscripted simplicity to chiropractic marketing complexity. Today's episode, copyright Screening Experts LLC, musical score composed and arranged by Frank Sardella ASCAP. For more information, visit screeningexperts.com.